Hey, my friend, welcome to the Art of Online Business podcast. My name is Rick Mulready, and I'm an online business coach. I'm an ads expert, and most importantly, I'm a dad. And this show is where we help established online course creators and coaches create more profit, more impact with less hustle. All right, let's get into it. All right, welcome back to the show, my friend. Hope all's going well. Thank you so much, as always, for tuning in today. So I want to do something a little bit different on today's quick tip episode. It's going to be a little bit of a longer episode today. And I want to take you behind the scenes of a coaching call within our Accelerator coaching program. And this is something I want to do a little bit more of here on the show and kind of take you behind the scenes. And so this is a coaching call between one of our members and Neill Williams, who is one of our resident expert Accelerator coaches. She's also a master life coach. And Neill specializes on all things mindset, including money mindset. She specializes also in productivity and business coaching. And every other Monday inside of Accelerator, Neill has a coaching call where any of our members can attend and talk about whatever's on their mind, whatever's coming up for them. On the other Mondays, by the way, those are calls with me where I do teachings and presentations and also do hot seats, a lot of hot seats. And so I want to share this call with you because what you're going to hear today is so common as online entrepreneurs. And this is something that I struggled with for years. And so what you're going to hear is our member here is feeling discouraged in his business. He runs a really successful membership. And he's been implementing a lot of things to make changes. Some things are working, and others he's not yet seeing the results that he wants to after putting a lot of effort into what he's doing. Again, like so many of us, he wants to feel like the business is moving forward and that what he's doing is working, right? And he equates the feeling of, or knowing that, if you will, that the business is moving forward towards the feeling of security. And you're going to hear Neill coach him through the fact that we cannot out-action feelings of insecurity. Rather, it has to start with our thoughts. And then the last quarter of the call, the coaching moves into how our member here is measuring his self-worth based on other people's actions, based on other businesses' successes, which is really common with us online entrepreneurs. And I'm raising my hand right now because I did this same thing for years. And so I think you're going to get a lot out of this coaching call that you're about to hear. And by the way, special thank you to our Accelerator member who gave us special permission to use this coaching call, to use this part of the coaching call, I should say, with all of you here on the podcast. And by the way, if you are interested in learning more about our Accelerator coaching program, this is for established online course creators. Maybe you have a membership program or you're an online coach, or maybe all three. And by established, I mean you're doing at least $100K per year in your online business, and you're looking to scale. You're looking to take things to the next level. We help you create more profit, more impact with less hustle. This is exactly what we're helping people do inside of Accelerator every single day. So if you want to learn more and apply, it's application only. Just go to rickmulready.com/accelerator. All right. Without further ado, let's jump into this coaching call.
I feel like my outlook recently has been a little bit like discouraged. Like I've been implementing a lot of new things in my business to try to solve problems.
Okay.
And some of them are working. Then there's some of them where I'm like, oh, I like really put a lot of effort into that. I'm not sure if I'm seeing the result. And I feel like my mindset is like, I don't know, I'm spending too much time, I think, feeling like, this sucks. Or rather than like being excited about, oh, I just figured out, like if I think about what a more healthy way to look at it would be, maybe is like, oh, well, I just learned that that's not quite going to work. So I can continue finding another solution to the problem, and I wouldn't be able to find the solution unless I had done this particular thing. Mm-hmm. But yeah, so any thoughts around that, I guess?
Yeah, let's see if we can get an example. So like, what's one thing that you've tried recently that you feel like you're feeling maybe discouraged about?
So I've been like trying to get my churn on my membership down. It like averages like 6.25%. averages like over the last year. I've been trying to get it down. And so I've tried some things like changing my onboarding sequence, creating a quick win course for new members and things like that. And I feel like it's nothing. I'm not really seeing the results yet. Or for example, like it's especially like poignant because like last month I had like a lot of new members and the churn ratio is pretty good. But then like this month I'm like, why is my churn so high? So I'm just like, okay, is what I'm doing working at all? Like, I don't know.
Yeah. Okay. What is the goal to get the churn rate down to?
I mean, I would love to get it down to like 4%.
4%. Okay. So I heard you say you tried two things, change the onboarding sequence and you created a quick win course for new members.
Yeah. Like I changed like my new member orientation, like after they sign up for the membership. And I've changed my welcomes, like email series that I send them to more like address the underlying reasons of why they say they churn, basically.
Okay. So tell me why you're feeling discouraged about this, that you're not at 4% yet on the churn rate. Why discouraged?
Because I want to keep more members. I think.
Okay. Yeah. And that's totally fine. But why do you want to keep more members? I know this sounds like a dumb question, but just.
Yeah. I mean, I want the membership to grow. Like, I mean, I feel like I'm hitting this like point where it's like growth is slow because it's like the number of people coming in versus the number leaving is not like the exponential growth I was experiencing like a year ago, basically.
Okay. And so why do we want it to be like that exponential growth?
I want to make more money.
Okay. Why?
I mean, that's a good question. I think I'm having a baby in February and my wife might want to take some time off of work for a while.
Okay.
So it would be nice to make more money to try to like make up for her income. So I guess that's one reason. But I think like the underlying theme for me is always like, I just want to get better. That's all. So whether it's like making more money or like we talked about this before, like running faster, longer, or just even making a better membership for my members, like just improving always. Right. So if I don't feel like I'm improving, then it's like a bad feeling for me. Like I want to feel like I'm moving forward. If I don't feel like I'm moving forward, then I feel like not as alive, I guess.
Okay. And how do you know what tells you that you're moving forward or not?
Well, in this particular case, it's like just the numbers are saying it. It's like, oh, you're able to like, because of the things that you've done, more people want to stay with your membership longer, which means you're having more of a positive impact. What was the question again?
So how do you know that you're moving forward? And you said the numbers are telling you.
The numbers are telling, because moving forward in that sense of like gaining more members, increasing revenue. It's like, you see it. It's like,
yeah,
you're not.
Yeah. Yeah. Here's what's interesting. And you kind of said it a little bit earlier, but it's basically your litmus test for moving forward is more. More money, more members, more.
Yeah. I think that's fair. Yeah.
Yeah. And I'm not saying that that's wrong. I'm just saying like when you pause for just a hot second and look at it, how does that feel to you?
I wish it was a healthier mindset. I think like it would be nicer if I thought of like moving forward as, I don't know, just enjoying the journey of growing a business rather than like wishing I was at some sort of, self-manufactured destination, I guess.
Yeah. And I think it's just interesting to see like the thing that is driving you for more. Again, we're not saying that's wrong, but it is to avoid some kind of icky feeling. You said like, if you're not perceiving that you're moving forward, it feels like a yuck to you. What is that?
Oh man, I don't know. Well, maybe part of it is just like going always to the worst case scenario, right? Like reverting back to some like old schemas of like, well, I guess they're not old if I still have them, but of like, oh, if things aren't going to get better, maybe they'll get worse. And then maybe my business will start tanking. Then I'll have to let somebody go. Then, oh my gosh, then like, oh, I don't know. Just like maybe we'll come crashing it, like irrational thoughts and feelings of like things crashing down. So like the security is that if it's doing better, then it's doing better, right?
You feel more secure if you're moving forward. Or you have the perception that you're moving forward.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. Where does security come from?
I don't know.
Yeah. This is kind of an interesting one to consider. So what's happening for you totally makes sense to me, why you have this constant like push. So now, I mean, right now, the thing that we're talking about is getting the churn rate down from 6.5 to 4%. And the reason why is if you can do that, then it will feel like you're moving forward. But because that hasn't moved, the needle hasn't moved to that 4%, you're feeling discouraged, like you're not moving forward, or at least not moving forward fast enough.
Yeah. Yes, that's accurate.
Yeah. And so I kind of just wanted to check in with like, why does this matter? And it matters because you have this idea that I will be secure if I get to this imaginary finish line that I've created for myself.
Right.
That I keep moving forward.
Yeah, it definitely keeps moving forward.
Yeah. Like here's the finish line for the half marathon. But I just decided once I got to the half marathon, that's not good enough. So now I'm going to do full marathon.
Actually, I still haven't gotten there yet. They always like have the signups at the end of the half marathons. And I'm like, no, I'm not going to do it.
Right. So notice that the reason that you're doing this, like the constant need for moving forward and forward and forward, is because you're trying to out action your way out of the feeling of insecurity. You think if you do enough things, if you make enough progress forward, you will then somehow find security at the end.
Yeah, I think that's pretty accurate.
So it's important to see this. This is true for many high achieving individuals, that we think there's some way we can like outwork our negative feelings. And the reason that we do that is because it actually works for a little while. But what happens is you notice that it comes back. It's like recycled. Then something happens, something's not the way you think that it should be. And you interpret it as, I'm not moving forward as fast as I should. Then you start to have the feeling of insecurity. Then you do a bunch of stuff to try and outwork that feeling of insecurity. And for a hot second, you'll feel secure. And then you'll be like, wait a minute, now I lost it again.
Right.
So it's this cycle. So the way to solve the cycle is to not out action take action to try and feel better. It's to solve the thinking that's creating the insecure feeling in the first place.
How do I do that?
I know. I'm going to help you with it, but I want you to first see that is like, if you want to solve this once and for all, that's the piece we have to tackle.
Yeah. Well, I would like to solve it. Yeah.
Yeah.
That'd be helpful.
Yeah. So what would happen if you didn't move forward at all in your business? Like, what if I told you, Brent, I want you to just create the same exact thing that you did this year, next year. You don't get to do more. What would happen for you in your mind?
It'd be like scratching a chalkboard. It's like I'm in a boat in the middle of the ocean, and instead of like paddling to get to the UK or wherever, I'm just going to sit there for a year. I'm not going to move. Well, I'll probably move. The waves will push me around, but it wouldn't feel good, I think, because it doesn't feel like it doesn't feel like I'm progressing. Yeah.
And why does it matter that you're not progressing?
Well, I think it's tied in with my self-worth a bit. It's like this like how successful I am at what I do is tied into the way I feel about myself.
Okay. Tell me a little bit more about that. How successful you are determine your self-worth?
Well, I mean, and again, I don't necessarily think, well, here's a great example. So I'm a musician. Mm-hmm. So before I started my business, I was just a performing musician. So how good of a musician I was, it wasn't about necessarily being wealthier, because me or none of my colleagues were, but my self-worth was so tied into how well I actually play my instrument, and then how well others perceive that I play my instrument. Like, do they want to play with me? Do they want to call me for gigs? So I don't know. I'm trying to figure out if I'm answering your question or just talking in a circle.
No, I really was trying to get at what is your definition of self-worth? And here's what I think you just told me.
Okay.
Is your self-worth is dependent on your judgment and opinion of your performance and others' judgment and opinion of your performance.
Yeah, definitely.
So your self-worth is tied up in your performance, whether you're a musician or you're an entrepreneur.
Yes.
Do you see how that has come in? Like, you took that way of thinking as a performer, as a musician, and you brought that way of thinking into your business as an entrepreneur.
Right.
So now your self-worth as a business owner is tied up in the performance of your business.
Yes. Like if I made less money this year than last year, it's not necessarily that I'd be like so mad about, oh crap, now I can't go on that vacation with my wife or something. Like, it wouldn't necessarily be that. It would just be like, oh, like I'm not doing as well. Like,
something's wrong with me.
Yeah, perhaps. I'm like, yeah, there's something that I'm not doing right that everybody else is doing right. So there's something inherently wrong with what I'm doing, I guess.
Yeah. And it's not even that the right or wrong, it's your judgment of yourself and your perception of other people's judgments of you as a business owner.
Right.
I think it's kind of interesting to look at. Yeah.
Well, yeah, no, it's very interesting, disturbingly interesting.
I don't think it's disturbing. I think it's something that we're socialized to believe is true.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't know if I feel like I'm unique per se.
No.
Like, these are unique feelings, but like,
no.
I have no other frame of reference to like, that's not true. I was about to say I have no frame of reference of how else to feel about myself. But that's definitely not true. But it would be very, very difficult for me to experience, like you were just describing, like doing nothing, not doing nothing, but just staying completely stagnant and feeling okay with it.
Okay.
Why? I mean, yeah, I think it goes back to everything we just talked about. It would just feel like I'm not, I don't know. It's hard questions to answer.
I know this is hard coaching, and it might be something that, we start here and you marinate on a little bit and then we come back to. But here's what I want you to see. The reason why, which is why I asked you about next year. And if I set this goal for you, what would happen for you? Because it gave me a real insight into your mind and what you would make it mean, is you would automatically judge that as stagnant performance.
Yeah. Yes.
Right? If I said just set the same goal, you're like, no, then I'm stagnant, which would mean then that somehow my self-worth takes a hit.
Right. And I don't feel like I would be here in Accelerator if I didn't feel that way. You know what I mean? Like, I wouldn't have joined this coaching program if I wasn't like, like, in fact, if I really think about it, that's the biggest reason I signed up. I was like, I'm stuck and I don't know what to do next. And like, I need someone to help me figure out what to do next.
Yeah.
To get to like not be stagnant. So I joined Accelerator. And then I got onto the coaching call with Neill.
And then Neill comes on and is like, let's just be stagnant. Here's what I think is really going to be interesting is to start really intentionally thinking about what is the definition that I want to have for success in my business that cannot be anything to do with my self-worth or my performance.
How's that? Okay. I guess like, how is that possible? Right. Cause like, okay, so if the definition of success, let's just say, and this is a definition of success, is like, well, I want to hear from my members saying like, look how much of an impact being in like your membership had on my musicianship after a year. Like, right. Okay. So it's like, oh, right. Awesome. Like, the product is positively impacting people's lives. I mean, that's ultimately like the underlying, like I wouldn't be doing it if that wasn't there, but my self-worth is completely tied into that. It's like, look what I did for that person. Look how like great of a teacher I actually am.
Right. That totally makes sense because your definition of self-worth is it's dependent on not only your judgment about your performance, but other people's judgment about your performance, opinions about your performance. So that totally makes sense to me.
Right.
That you're gauging it that way.
So how could I measure success outside of, like, how do I do it?
You can still measure it by thinking about like impact on people, but not making it mean anything about you if they do create the results or they don't. Do you see the difference?
Yeah, I do.
If we think about your people, like your audience, you are a circumstance for them. Like you're a fact in their world. And the membership that you offer is a fact for them, right?
Right.
But that has nothing to do with the results that they create. Nothing. What matters is how they think about that and feel about it and what they do with it. That determines their results. So when you're thinking about like you taking responsibility for whether they have success or they don't have success, you're actually not powerful enough to determine their success, which is an amazing thing and kind of like a wah-wah at the same time, right? Because what will determine it is what they do with your membership. And you don't have control over what they do with it.
Well, I to a degree, I might, like if I teach them how to get results with it.
Yes, but whether they actually do it or not, you don't have control over. Like you can teach them all the things in the world, right? And you can offer them the most amazing thing. And you probably have a group of people who have create amazing success with it. And then you probably have people who don't, right?
Yeah. Yep.
You have both. Because the way they think about it, how they feel, what they do will either determine success or no success. You are just up here. You don't determine this success or failure for them.
Mm-hmm.
So I offer this because if you're going to want to take responsibility for their success or not, the thing that you're in danger of then is judging yourself when they don't get the success that you think that they should have.
Yeah. One way or another. Yeah.
Totally. Right. So you can just do your best to offer up exactly what you think they need. And I'm not saying like put out a crappy product, which I don't think you've done that, obviously. But at the end of the day, it's up to them whether they do it or not. So I always think like, I'm never going to take credit for my students' success or their failures. I want to understand them, but not judge myself as the reason for either of them.
Yeah.
And what I'm offering for you is to apply that to you and to your business. What are you thinking?
I guess the idea of like accepting, well, okay, maybe it's not the direct same thinking, but for example, like the reason I said, I want my churn to be 4% is because I know of some people in similar niches as me whose churn is 4%.
Right.
So then if I see that my churn is not 4%, now I'm going, well, then I am responsible for why, like, you know what I mean? There is something wrong with what I'm doing. Does that, so like, even though I can't completely control them, like utilizing my membership so that they get the results, it feels like, well, there must be something I'm doing wrong.
Right. Because what you've done is you've taken somebody else's business and you've compared yours to it. And you're telling yourself like you're using it to judge yourself as not being where you should be. You're not as successful as you should be. Therefore, there's something wrong with me.
Yes. That's
and
it.
You're probably doing that in lots of different ways. That's just another really great example of showing how you're doing that. Because you're constantly trying to find how you don't measure up so that you can artificially create things to move forward to make yourself feel like you're doing a good job.
I think you just nailed it. Yes.
Isn't that wild?
It's very wild. Yes.
You're like, okay, I'm going to go find somebody who's doing one little teeny aspect in their business better. And I'm going to use that to beat that out of myself. And then that'll create a thing that I have to meet in order for me to artificially feel better about myself.
Brilliant plan.
We're like, wait a minute. How does this make sense?
Yeah. It doesn't sound that intelligent when you say it that way. Yeah.
I know. And I'm a little bit making fun of your brain right now, right?
No, it's good.
Like poking fun at it.
It's good to do that. Yeah.
But do you see how that's playing out for you?
Yeah, I do. I wish it was easier just to be like, oh yeah, well, that's not probably the best way to go about it. So we'll just like flip that switch and lived happily ever after.
Right. We want, like, what everybody wants from me is like, Neill, could you just give me a pill to change this thought in my brain? Right? You're like, I just want it like this. And I get that. I totally get it. I'm a human too. I have my own that I do the same thing on. So I understand it completely. But the reality is we have to like work at this and practice it. So when you're thinking about making decisions in your business, if you are thinking about it instead of like having to judge yourself for anything, if you're just like, I'm exactly where I should be, I'm going to create any amount of success that I want to, and I'm going to trust myself to support myself even when I fail. Like judgment, just like I'm drawing a line in the sand. You could like literally decide, I'm drawing a line in the sand with myself today on this call, and everyone here is my witness. I will not use any result in my business as a reason to judge myself ever again.
That's a big commit. Well, what if I don't keep that commitment?
No, I mean, then you just get coached on why. You're like, oh, I recognize that I did it again. Darn it. Why did I do that? I guess I'll get coached by Neill and see what happened here. Again, notice how what you're doing is like you're trying to find how you would fail and then judge yourself for failing. What I'm saying is that's a beautiful example. Perfect. It's an opportunity for you to just like lean into supporting yourself, even though you failed on this thing that you said you were going to do. It's totally fine.
Got you.
You see how your brain was like, I'm going to try and outsmart her right here.
Well, I don't think I was intentionally trying to outsmart
No, of course you weren't. No.
I wouldn't be that foolish, but you know.
No, it's just the way that the brain works, right? We just can see that neural programming so deeply.
Yeah. Well, I officially make the commitment that I will no longer judge myself based on the results of my business in front of all present. I do solemnly swear until I fail, and then I go back for coaching again.
Yeah, but I think here's the deal. If you give yourself this assignment, this will forever break your need to like move forward and move faster and move at this pace, because you'll never have to like outrun your judgments of yourself. You'll never have to like success your way out of how you feel about yourself. Just like, yeah, this is what I created. And this part was great. And then this part sucked. And I'm a human.
I like that.
Do you see how much more accepting it would be? And like, it would create a more enjoyable journey for you.
Definitely. Yeah.
Because you wouldn't be beating the crap out of yourself along the way.
Yeah. To be clear, I used to be way worse. So, I feel like I have progressed a little bit.
You're just at level 2, right? So we're going to just like ratchet it up a little bit. You're like,
well, don't say level 2 because that means I have to get to level 3. So.
Okay, no levels for you.
Okay, yeah.
One little kind of like path that we're going along. Okay. I think that's amazing. I think for you, what I would really suggest is to like just recognize every time you're like judging yourself, it's like just an awareness exercise. Oh, I see that I was making it mean that I didn't make this revenue, or my churn rate was, like you said, it was really high this month or whatever. I don't know what the number was, but it was like higher. I'm using that to like say something about myself that I'm doing it wrong. Mm-hmm. If it's just a churn rate, has nothing to do with who I am or my worth, then what? It's just a number in my business. That's it.
Right.
And looking at all those as examples of how you can continue to make this commitment to yourself and break this idea that success and self-worth have anything to do with each other.
Got it. Thank you. This was very helpful.
It's going to be amazing. Thank you for being an example of this, because I know that there are people on this call or people who will watch this and be like, oh my God, that's totally me too. So
glad to be the guinea pig.
Hey, thanks so much, as always, for listening to the podcast, my friend. Do me a favor. Go over to Apple Podcast and make sure to subscribe to the podcast. And also, I'd be super grateful if you would be willing to leave a quick rating and review for the show over there on Apple Podcast. Also, if you're listening on like Spotify, click that follow button for the podcast. And if you're listening on Stitcher or any of the other platforms, make sure you hit that subscribe button so that you don't miss any episodes I've got coming out here on the show. Again, thank you for listening. Super appreciate you. Have an amazing rest of your day, and I'll talk to you soon.